Okay, today we're going to talk about an organ that's a true unsung hero of your body, working away tirelessly behind the scenes. Most of us barely give it a second thought, but this small organ, the pancreas, is pretty much the master regulator of our entire metabolism.
I mean, seriously, be honest. When was the last time you thought, hey, thanks, pancreas? Probably never, right? Well, after this explainer, you just might. Because understanding this one organ unlocks some of the absolute biggest stories happening in health and medicine today. So get this, it's kind of wild. A full 98% of the pancreas is dedicated to just one thing, digestion. But the tiny little 2% that's left over, the part that we're going to focus on, that's the bit that has completely revolutionized medicine. It's just an amazing example of how something super small can have a massive, massive impact.
So yeah, this organ is basically a biological double agent. It's living a double life, playing two completely different, yet totally critical roles for your body. Let's break down what those two jobs are.
Okay, so on one hand, you have its day job, the exocrine function. That's the 98% we just saw. It's a factory for powerful digestive enzymes that break down all the food you eat. Super important. But then it has this other, kind of secret life, the endocrine function. That's our tiny 2%. This side is responsible for making hormones, like insulin and glucagon, and releasing them straight into your blood to manage your energy. And that endocrine side, well, that's where our story really kicks off. All right, so let's zoom in. If you could shrink down and fly right past all that digestive machinery, you'd find these little islands, tiny, dense clusters of cells scattered all over. These are the headquarters for hormone control, discovered way back in 1869, and they're called the islets of Langerhans.
And inside each of these little islets, you've got a whole team of specialized cells. There are alpha cells, which make glucagon, and the very famous beta cells, which make insulin. We're definitely coming back to them. But the team doesn't stop there. You've also got delta cells, PP cells, and epsilon cells, and each one is pumping out its own unique hormone. It's like a complex, microscopic neighborhood where everyone has a job to do. And here's one of those fascinating little details in biology that just shows you why studying humans is so important. For decades, research on mice and rats showed their islets were beautifully organized, a perfect core of beta cells with a neat little ring of alpha cells around the outside. But when we finally got a good look at human islets, oh no, they're a total mess. All the cell types are just jumbled together, which tells us their communication network is probably way more complex than we ever imagined. So how does this chaotic little neighborhood manage something as vital as your blood sugar? Well, it all comes down to this incredible, delicate balancing act. You can think of it like a perfect symphony, conducted by two superstar hormones. Okay, so let's walk through it. Say you just ate a meal. First, the glucose from that food gets into your beta cells. The cell immediately starts using that glucose for energy, causing its internal power levels, what we call ATP, to spike. That energy surge acts like a switch, throwing open channels that let calcium ions flood into the cell. And that rush of calcium, that's the final trigger. Boom. The cell releases its pre-made packets of insulin right into your bloodstream. It's so elegant.
And this sets up a perfect push and pull dynamic, kind of like a seesaw for your blood sugar. When sugar is high after a meal, insulin is the downforce. It tells your muscles and fat to soak up that sugar and tells your liver to store it for later. Your blood sugar falls. But what about when your blood sugar gets too low, maybe because you haven't eaten in a while? That's when glucagon jumps on the other side of the seesaw. It's the up force. It goes to the liver and says, hey, release that stored sugar, and your blood sugar rises. Together, they keep you perfectly balanced.
And maintaining that balance is absolutely crucial. In a condition like type 2 diabetes, for instance, the body cells start ignoring insulin's signal. So the beta cells have to shout louder and louder, pumping out more and more insulin just to get the job done. Eventually, they just get exhausted. They experience what scientists call burnout, which can lead to cell death. The system just breaks down.
Now, for a long time, the story seemed pretty simple. Insulin on one side, glucagon on the other. But this is where the story takes a fantastic plot twist. It turns out that glucagon isn't a solo act. No way.
It's actually part of a whole secret family of hormones, and it's way more versatile than we thought.
The secret to all of this lies in a gene called the pro-glucagon gene. See, this gene doesn't just make one hormone. It creates a large precursor molecule. You can think of it like a master blueprint that contains the instructions for several different hormones all chained together, just waiting to be cut out.
So let's look at what happens in the pancreas. Inside those alpha cells, a specific enzyme, basically a tiny pair of molecular scissors called PC2, comes along and takes a look at that master blueprint. And PC2 makes a very specific cut. It snips out our old friend glucagon, the hormone that raises blood sugar. And for decades, we thought that was the end of the story. But here's the twist. The exact same master blueprint from that proglucagon gene is also being produced in special cells in your intestine. And in the intestine, a different pair of molecular scissors, an enzyme called PC1/3, is in charge of doing the cutting. And because you're using different scissors, you get completely different final products. Instead of just making glucagon, the intestine snips out this incredible suite of other hormones. The star player here is a hormone called GLP-1, which enhances insulin release, slows down your stomach, and tells your brain you're full. I mean, when scientists figured this out, it was an absolute world-changing game changer.
And that discovery, the fact that our own gut was making this powerful, multi-talented hormone, it didn't just open a new door in medicine, it blew the whole wall down and opened up an entirely new frontier.
Suddenly, the light bulb went on for researchers everywhere. The goal became crystal clear. What if we could hack this system? What if we could design a drug that mimics the effects of GLP-1? We could help the pancreas, control blood sugar, and manage appetite all at the same time. This one idea sparked a total revolution in how we treat diabetes and obesity.
And the pace of innovation here has just been explosive. First, we developed drugs that just targeted GLP-1. Then came the dual agonists, like tirzepatide, that hit both GLP-1 and another gut hormone, GIP, for even more powerful effects. And now, we're developing these incredible triple agonists like retatrutide, which can target 3 different receptors at once. We are literally designing molecules to precisely tune our body's own internal communication system.
Just think about that journey. We went from identifying an organ to discovering its secret hormone blueprints, and now to actually redesigning those hormonal signals ourselves. It all leads to this final, huge question. With this incredible new power to fine-tune our own hormonal symphony, what's the next chapter? What other aspects of human health could we improve? It's a truly thrilling time to be watching this science unfold.